Hi, everyone. Welcome to join our session at Oktane 22 today. The session is going to be centered on managing identity and access for your hybrid IT environment. And we will provide a high-level overview of how you can leverage Okta platform and its solutions to address all of your hybrid identity needs. This is designed to be a L100 level introductory session. So if you're looking for more in-depth information, you can explore other Octane sessions this year. And also you can check out more information on okta.com. I'm Eric. I'm a product marketing manager at Okta. And I'm joined today by our product expert, Eric Karlinski from our product management team.
Yep, I'm Eric Karlinski. I'm a product manager at Okta. I've been at Okta for about 8 years now, in various roles, product marketing and technical marketing. Before that, I was a consultant helping customers, large customers, do identity implementations and with their identity strategies. So learned a lot and developed a lot of empathy for large, complex organizations trying to make these big changes, such as identity management and overhauling that and going into the future.
So we're all aware of the fact that cloud adoption has been accelerating over the years. And along the journey, hybrid IT becomes the most widely adopted model, especially among the large organizations. According to the 2022 Flexera State of the Cloud report, 80% of the organizations are deploying a hybrid IT model, and the market is expected to continue to grow because hybrid IT provides options for these organizations to best handle certain requirements, such as compliance, application performance, and costs. And identity is the focal point of your hybrid IT strategy, as it's the connected fabric across your people, resources, and things, and effectively the new security parameter in your distributed hybrid environment. And the right approach to identity would be a great enabler for a successful hybrid IT design. And Okta is the most complete identity and access management platform to address all of your hybrid identity needs, enabling you to integrate all of your hybrid resources onto a single platform and under a unified identity. So we have Universal Directory, which is a cloud-based identity management plane that helps you centrally manage at scale any identities across on-prem and the cloud. And then Access Gateway delivers modern and secure access to your on-premises web applications without having to change your application source code, extending Okta's cloud-native single sign-on and adaptive multi-factor authentication capabilities to these applications. In addition, advanced server access enables access to cloud and on-prem infrastructure via SSH and RDP without the dependency on a VPN solution. Last but not the least, we have a comprehensive set of agents that connect to other popular on-prem resources, such as VPN, Wi-Fi, etc. So together, these solutions under a single platform enable you to manage identity and access across your different types of hybrid resources with a centralized process, control, and visibility. So now let's dive in and take a closer look at each of those. Legacy directories can no longer serve modern business needs due to the lack of visibility into all users and their privileges, because the user identities nowadays are just spread across multiple disconnected silos, both on-prem and in the cloud. And it's difficult for IT teams to adopt and deploy new applications and resources because of the custom-built integrations needed with legacy directories, which is time-consuming and very difficult to maintain. And then the security and access policies across those distributed identities are also inconsistent, which makes it more challenging to secure. That's why enterprises need a more modern cloud directory solution to support their business priorities. So this is where Universal Directory comes into play. Universal Directory is Okta's cloud-based identity management plane that provides IT admins a consolidated view to manage users, groups, and devices across identity sources, ensuring the right identities have access to the right resources. So whether your source of truth is Active Directory, some HR systems or other legacy databases, Universal Directory helps you to move and manage those identities in the cloud, keep them in sync, cross identity sources, and helps you adopt the cloud technology your enterprise needs. And Universal Directory supports access to more than just cloud apps, right? It works across the stack so that you can integrate access policies across your infrastructure, APIs, and applications in the cloud or on premises into a single policy and security engine. So you can really easily connect to any Active Directory, LDAP, and CSV directories to Universal Directory via on-prem agents, enable just-in-time provisioning or import users and groups to Universal Directory. And you can also optionally turn on delegated authentication to AD and LDAP. So all of these are going to ensure, you can have a fast integration following mergers and acquisitions. You are able to reduce the time needed to create and manage accounts, and also reduce costs and dependency on legacy systems. So, Eric, we know that pandemic in a lot of ways actually changed how we work today, right? Can you tell us a little bit more regarding how Okta was able to help with the new way of work?
Absolutely. Thanks, Eric. The topic at hand is obviously hybrid IT, and the shape and structure of hybrid IT really changed as a result of the pandemic. I think, a lot of things changed, but they were the extension or the extrapolation of current trends that we were already starting to see, right? The acceleration of trends, I should say. So the chart here shows that organizations that have a hybrid work model in place is now at around 66%. 33% have a plan, 1% have no plans. I'm not sure about that 1%. Don't encounter companies like that very often. Everyone's at least considering, like, what can hybrid do for us? There are lots of advantages to hybrid. So how do we kind of go after that? This is hybrid in the sense of a dynamic workplace and the ability to work remotely and to work from home and not have to come into the office all the time. And so that's one dimension of hybrid. The other dimension of hybrid is the types of resources really that you need to integrate with. So while users are shifting to work more from home and to work from other locations, so also are the resources and the workloads that those users are actually interacting with to do their jobs, right? So what we see on the flip side is, or actually as a confounding factor, is that the workloads are moving from on-premises to the cloud, but not in any kind of light switch overnight kind of way. Over time, they're moving into the cloud. And so that's just changing the shape of the perimeter and the shape of the IT infrastructure and the responsibilities and threat models and everything. So the pandemic really accelerated these two key trends. And these two key trends are really upending how we think about IT and what our customers are seeing. So with this one in particular, there are a lot of resources that are just on premises and need to stay on premises because they're business critical. There's not a SaaS equivalent necessarily, or it's just not reasonable because of budget constraints or resourcing constraints or expertise to move all these applications to the cloud. So what do we do about those applications? And that's where Access Gateway comes in. So Access Gateway modernizes and secures access to on-premises web applications. You can think of it as an extension of Okta. So you get SSO, you get your multi-factor authentication, your contextual access policies, all of those brought to bear on on-premises applications such as Oracle eBusiness Suite, PeopleSoft, Jira, and others. And so what this is really doing is it's an on-premises appliance that you install in your network alongside these applications that are already deployed there and that users are already interacting with. And then you can use Access Gateway to do two things. The first thing that it does is it can make those applications available on the internet without a VPN. That's because Access Gateway has a reverse proxy architecture, and that means that it can facilitate the access of those applications by proxying requests from the internet to those applications. But of course, you don't want to just expose those applications without the proper protections. And that's the second thing that Access Gateway does, which is provide access controls on top of that. And those access controls are based upon Okta, and they leverage all the access policies that you set up in Okta. Now, when you talk about making applications accessible and you talk about providing the right security and controls for those applications, one thing I haven't said yet is the user experience. Obviously, there are benefits to not having to connect to a VPN for certain applications, especially web-based applications, but also the user experience of getting single sign-on experience and an authentication and sign-on experience that's identical to what users would get with the cloud and SaaS applications, but it extends to their on-premises applications. And that's really the promise that we launched Access Gateway to kind of go after. So that's the architecture of Access Gateway. So you can just think of it as an extension of the Okta Cloud that extends a lot of the benefits to your on-premises applications. It unifies all of your access into Okta, which is the single platform. It allows the SSO and MFA and threat insights advantages of Okta to be extended to your on-premises applications. And the thing is, you don't have to make any changes to your on-prem apps. These applications, the ones that we have highlighted on this slide, support something called header-based authentication. And that means that if you populate the headers in a certain way, then the application knows which authorizations to give to which users that are logging in. And they already know how to do this. There's legacy web app access management suites out there that already use this pattern. And therefore, it's somewhat interchangeable. It's relatively standards based. One thing we've done with Access Gateway that's unique, though, is that we've taken some of the integration complexity out of it by having out-of-the-box integrations with certain complex on-premises applications, like the ones highlighted in this slide. So that's where you get even more returns on your investment for Access Gateway, because we can take some of the more complicated and nuanced aspects of integrating with these applications, which are, kind of often classic multi-tier application architectures. And we have simplified that and encapsulated that into an integration that's baked into the Access Gateway product that makes that a lot simpler. And then finally, it can reduce your dependency on VPN. It's not a VPN replacement by any means. A VPN grants you access to a lot of things that are not web-based, and there are a lot of other reasons to have a VPN to access certain workloads. But for web-based applications where you're really concerned with making those accessible and you really want to move the security controls to the identity layer, then Access Gateway is a great fit. It can really level up your architecture.
So it goes without saying the importance of securing your infrastructure, especially when you look at the numbers, right? 80% of the security breaches are actually targeting servers specifically. And then identity again here plays a pivotal role, given 82% of the breaches involve human elements such as stolen credentials. And then a decent number of breaches are also driven by misconfigurations as well. So advanced server access is Okta's solution to protect access to infrastructure such as servers, both on-prem and in the cloud via SSH and RDP. So compared with legacy infrastructure operations, advanced server access delivers a more dynamic and least privileged model, right? For instance, instead of having shared accounts, advanced server access enables role-based and attributes-based access control. Instead of utilizing static keys, advanced server access uses ephemeral credentials as well. And then there's another layer of automated lifecycle management sourced from the system of records to enable velocity at scale. So all of these are accomplished centrally from a single identity provider across your entire hybrid IT environment.
All right, so we've talked about Universal Directory and Okta's ability to integrate with on-premises directories, pull in a lot of those user populations that are in on-premises directories, such as AD and LDAP, and store them centrally in the cloud where they're more accessible and more usable. Universal Directory can also serve, obviously, as a cloud-based user directory as well. We've also talked about how to integrate these legacy web applications using Access Gateway, some applications that are not going anywhere anytime soon, but still need to benefit from that security and access control and web SSO experience. And Eric just walked through how you can extend Okta using advanced server access to protect and bring those same benefits to servers and workloads that are running on the servers, including containers managed by Kubernetes. So we're starting to look at all the whole landscape of resources that are able to be managed and integrated into Okta in your hybrid IT environment. And the next category kind of expands that even further. And this is really our agents. So we support a whole slew of on-premises resources using legacy protocols, but also non-web protocols. So for example, our Radius agent, which is in the bottom left of this slide, this allows you to integrate with networking infrastructure. So think of like your Cisco's, your Checkpoints, Palo Alto, Citrix, Fortinet, which are all the logos in the slide here. So this integrates through a protocol called Radius. And Radius is not a web-based protocol. It's a means of server to server, basically, authentication. And so in order to facilitate this, you can install a Radius server or Radius agent, is what we call the Okta component, in your environment. That translates Okta authentication requests into Radius, and it provides a user experience for the user to interact with in order to achieve the authentication requirements for the application in a way that's completely decoupled from the web and completely different than SAM1 OIDC. And so that really expands out the resources that we're able to support. In that case, we get to benefit from a standard, which is Radius. And then there are other cases where there are just some behemoth applications out there that we just want to support because so many of our customers have these applications. And so we build either bespoke or like other maybe non-standard, but based on common patterns type integrations. So one example of this, and I'm talking to the top left side, the MFA for third-party agents. One example of this is the inverse of the Radius protocol, where we support Radius clients, basically, which allows you to integrate a multi-factor authentication authenticator that's using this Radius standard, but as a means of providing second-factor authentication to access resources in Okta. So one example for this is SafeNet or the RSA Secure ID tokens. This agent allows you to use that existing investment in the multi-factor authentication tokens and authenticators to log into Okta. Semantic's another example of this, and use those for MFA. And then there's specific applications that we support, such as Epic. Epic has a EPCS set of capabilities for clinicians. And when they're doing particular activities in the application, there's often a need to step up to multi-factor authentication for those transactions. And our Epic plugin allows you to, which now supports not only the Hyperspace platform, but also the Hyperdrive platform, which is the new Epic platform that's rolling out. It allows you to use Okta multi-factor authentication options in order to perform that step up. So not only can you log into Epic with Okta, but you can do multi-factor authentication with Okta as well. And this is an on-premises, Windows-based application that is, a bit proprietary, but we still, in order to, meet our customers where they are, we still built that integration and maintain it. From Microsoft ADFS, another identity provider that a lot of customers have invested in, and we wanted to make sure that you can use Okta multi-factor authentication with ADFS. So we have a plugin for ADFS where you can do that. And the last example I'll mention here is we have a plugin for the RDP protocol, remote desktop protocol. So if you're accessing a Windows server in the legacy way of using the RDP client, you can use our RDP credential provider in order to use Okta authentication to access that server as well. And that can be deployed at scale. We have lots of customers who deploy that to hundreds of servers. So that's another example of an integration that we built in order to extend the value of Okta. And you're starting to see our strategy here, right? Which is find these areas of high leverage that we can build integration that solves as many customer needs as possible with one integration. So that's why we're attracted to standards, we're attracted to common patterns, but also reserve capacity to go build these relatively bespoke integrations for on-premises resources that are really not going anywhere for a while. There's really no cloud or SaaS alternative today. We know they're critical to our customers, or high security or high value assets, and we need to provide an extra layer of protection for them as well. So the last thing I'll mention here is around OIE versus Classic. So all of these agents that we've been talking about, so Access Gateway supports OIE today, and all of these agents that we're talking about are all also on OIE as well. There is a specific caveat with Epic, where if you're using Epic with OIE, we expect you to be using Epic Hyperdrive, the newer platform with OIE. So the Epic Hyperspace works well on Classic, and Epic Hyperdrive works well on OIE. And actually, we have some options if you're in the migration state, but I just wanted to highlight that aspect of it. IDFS is fully supported on an Okta Identity Engine today. So we're seeking parity on OIE with all of these as well. Eric, you want to talk about our customers that are using this?
Absolutely. So one exciting customer story to showcase the power of Okta is FedEx. This is one of the largest transportation, e-commerce, and business services companies in the world. So they have a really complex on-premises IAM infrastructure, right? We're talking about on-prem MFA, federation, WAM solutions. So all of those presented a continued friction for both their software developers and also their end users. It also presented obstacles for their mergers and acquisition integrations, right? So by leveraging Okta, they were able to unify their identity across their entire company from multiple user repositories resulted from the acquisition activities, enabling them to be able to integrate new companies much more quickly. They were also able to very rapidly integrate more than 250 applications, whether it's cloud native, SaaS, or legacy on-premises applications into Okta, enabling now more than 340,000 employees worldwide to use Okta to easily access these applications that are necessary for them to perform their work and improving their daily productivity. Last but not the least, they were also able to collapse multiple legacy on-premises IAM solutions and standardize on Okta, which significantly helped them reduce the management complexity for their IT teams as well. So this is just one of the hundreds of customer examples that we have. So if you're interested in learning more about how customers are leveraging Okta to help with their IT and business objectives, feel free to check out okta.com/customers to find more customer stories. So Eric has talked about a lot of exciting stuff in terms of how Okta platform and its solutions to help customers manage their hybrid IT, hybrid identity needs. So I wanted to ask Eric, going forward, what are the priorities or investments we're looking at in terms of, how Okta can help support the hybrid identity needs?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm going to provide a high level view for that here because, based on time, we can't get into all the details of this. There's a general roadmap session that I encourage you to attend and also some specific roadmap sessions in the different tracks that go into more detail. But I do want to talk about that. And I actually want to use that FedEx example as the anchor point because there was a key figure on there that I appreciate from my consulting days, especially where there's 5 legacy IAM systems that are being replaced as part of this project. And it's not that you drop in Okta and you pull out those all those systems overnight over a weekend. Yes, they had a lot of really rapid success with some of their key applications. But the customers that we talk to are always on this continuous spectrum of a journey of moving to the cloud and moving away from these legacy patterns into more modern ways of working. And also like the nature, as we talked about in the beginning, of the user patterns, how users are accessing applications, where they're accessing applications from, and then the resources themselves and to what degree the companies are managing the infrastructure for those resources, how much development's going on, where those workloads are actually running. So everything's changing all the time. So it's not like this, you start migration one day and then you finish migration, on day N, right? So it's a continuous journey that we're seeing. So our hybrid IT investments are intended to kind of go with you on that journey and facilitate that. So just to recap on the general products that kind of overlap with this space, we have Access Gateway, Advanced Server Access, our agents platform and the individual agent integrations, and then Universal Directory that kind of underpins this from an identity management perspective. And I mentioned this is a glimpse into the investments, but I tried to just characterize how we're thinking about making progress in these areas, right? So if we start with Access Gateway, it's all about automation and deployment and operating OAG at scale. So we saw a lot of early success with Access Gateway, and to such a degree that customers are running very large deployments of Access Gateway with a lot of authentications. And the throughput is one thing, but managing the infrastructure that supports that is something that we are working on through our roadmap of providing more and more tools. And this kind of goes to the macro trends that we were talking about with with kind of cloud native making its way into organizations, where organizations manage their configuration centrally and via code, right? Especially large complex organizations. There's little tolerance for manual errors. There's a lot more automation. There's little tolerance for slow, clunky kind of deployments. And so we're continuously investing in OAG to make that more lightweight and more amenable to automation. Advanced server access, and that's kind of like the meat and potatoes of hybrid IT that we're committed to. And so I love that example, not just because I'm the product manager for that product. Advanced server access is focused on two things: least privilege access to infrastructure. So again, they're focused on the resources being servers, containers, workloads. Least privilege access to infrastructure to make sure that there are no latent permissions that can be exploited. And then discovering and managing shared admin accounts. So not expanding out from just the individual user accounts to accounts that are shared, and how do we manage the credentials for that and vaulting, et cetera. And then with respect to agents, the agents are all about extending the functionality of Okta to these on-premises resources. And so to advance that, where we're focused is making the on-prem agents more flexible so that they can integrate with more resources and more situations more easily. So an example of this is supporting more flexible attribute mapping for Radius. And we're also making them more phishing resistant. So as we develop more and more phishing resistance in the Okta platform level, making sure that that makes its way into the hybrid world as well. So an example of that is supporting the number challenge, which makes Okta Verify Push more phishing resistant, in our Radius implementation. And then for Universal Directory, what we're focused on is supporting coexistence with Okta. And again, it's a nod to this not being like a point-to-point journey. It's a continuous journey. And there's going to be certain things that just need to be synced perpetually into Okta Universal Directory, and it's not a one-time migration. And supporting these kinds of scenarios with more flexibility, integrating with more different types of sources for data, and making that more flexible to keep things synchronized in multiple directions over time. So that's where we're focused from a Universal Directory perspective.
So with that, we wanted to thank you for listening to our session on hybrid IT. And then if you have more time, feel free to check out all the other Octane sessions where a lot of our colleagues are going to be covering a lot of topics related to identity and access. So thank you.
Thank you very much.